Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Global Red. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and contributing through comment or sharing. I really appreciate it. I'm just building this channel now. For now, I'm just going to share with you what I experience, okay? I'm in Dalat, Vietnam. If you've watched some of my videos before, I have a series introduction on, I call it THAI-ETNAM, how I live between Dalat, Vietnam and Chiang Mai, Thailand. And so far, I've introduced you to my father and his situation. It's pretty important to know why someone is doing what they're doing. And if you want to find out why I'm in Vietnam and why he's in Thailand, go check out that video. It's also very inspiring. It has to do with his healthcare journey, the ups, downs, and how he came out on the other side. So big inspiration to me. Go check that video out. But in the series introduction, I told you I was going to tell you just about every facet of my life and how I live indefinitely between these two countries. And today I'm going to share with you something that you probably don't even think about, or people don't talk too much about it. And it's not your monthly expenses. I'll be sharing a video on that very soon about my cost of living in each city and also my dad's cost of living. People have different needs and that costs a different amount of money, obviously. But if you live in Southeast Asia indefinitely, it's going to be very difficult for you to just stay in one location. You can purchase visas in certain countries that allow you to stay for a year, maybe extend that. But just know that when you travel from one country to the other, a lot of times you can come back and it resets your visa. And so for the cost, a lot of times that it would take to get some of these long-term visas, you can spend that and go visit another country, okay? And so I'll be going through the logistics and the cost of traveling between multiple countries, because that should be included in your budget, right? It's money coming out of your pocket. You might not be doing it every month, but if you do it every 3 months, you need to take that total cost and divide it by 3. Or if you're staying in that other country an extra month, 3 months, 1 month somewhere else, that's 4 months. So divide that cost by 4 months and add it to your cost of living, okay? I don't want people to come out here expecting that they can stay here a year, and 6 or 8 months down the road, they're like, I got to get the hell out of here before I run out of money, right? This is going to be a lot of numbers, right? I'm going to share with you a few different itineraries that get me back and forth between two countries, and we'll talk about border runs. If you're not familiar with that, it's just a way of land crossing and coming back same day. That exists for both countries that I'm going to talk about, and a lot of others too in Southeast Asia, right? And then I'll be examining airfare and how I shop. I'm not going to get into a lot of travel hacks. That's an entire video, at least on its own, and I will be posting that later. So you have an idea of what we've talked about so far, what we're talking about today, and what we're going to talk about in the future. So the best thing for you to do, if you haven't already, is like and subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I'll be dropping a couple of videos at least a week in this series until I run out, which I've made a list of about 30 or 40 videos that I can do just on these topics. So it could be ongoing and never ending. But one other thing, I am in Dalat, Vietnam right now. I'm in one of the infinite number of amazing places with fantastic scenery all around. I'll be maybe cutting some videos so that you don't have to look at me while I'm sharing these numbers. You can take a peek at these places that I'm walking around, and so you can kind of get a good vibe for where I can go for just, I think I spent $3 this morning on a grab ride to get to this part on the outside of the city. So anyway, here we go. First thing that I will cover today is just a Dalat to Chiang Mai itinerary. This is a standard issue itinerary, I would say, to get from one to the other. Interesting about Dalat is it is not a huge airport, it's regional. Sometimes it makes just as much sense because you're switching planes in Hanoi or you're switching planes in Ho Chi Minh City, and you can find cheaper flights from those cities to Thailand on a different day, maybe the next day or 2 days later, and it almost makes sense to spend 20 bucks US per night to stay in a hotel while you're waiting for your next flight, and you get to check out another city along the way. So I've done this a few times, and so that's something as kind of a precursor caveat to flying in and out of Dalat. Chiang Mai is a more international airport, so you've got more destinations that you can fly to that are direct flights, and you don't have as much of that going on as you do in Dalat. Dalat is expanding their airport early next year, and so it's going to add a couple more destinations to a few more countries: Singapore, Siem Reap, Cambodia, which is on my list, so I can go see Angkor Wat. And so the first thing you'll see here is my one-way ticket from Dalat to Chiang Mai. This one was going through Hanoi. This is the last time that I went, and the price was $196 You can expect to spend around 200 bucks one way from this one city to the other. It includes your baggage. And so what you'll see right here below is my return ticket, where I booked through a different carrier. The first one was through Vietnam Airlines. That usually gives you pricing with the baggage included, and you need to check your weight and make sure that you're going to come in under that weight or be prepared to pay a little more. And then coming back, Chiang Mai to Dalat is always, it seems like, a little bit more complex. And so I was able to get that for 129 US dollars without the baggage. And just to give you an idea, baggage for that trip, an extra 55 US dollars. Now, I've got a special situation because my dad lives somewhere. He's got an extra bed, so I can just stay with him. But if he didn't, I can find a nice condo, a decent condo, for about 300 US dollars per month. I would put it in that $300 to $400 range. Usually, if you're going to kind of stay there for a month, you get a better rate. Otherwise, you can look at 25 bucks a night for a hotel room to stay. So just depending on how long you decide to stay when you go, that's how much you'll pay in lodging. So that's going to be up to you. I use Agoda. Like I said, I'm not going to give you all my travel hacks here. That's going to come in a later video, right? But I use Agoda. That's a good place to start, right? They're usually very competitive, and then you can go from there. A couple of other things you have to remember is when you go to another country, unless you're just only going to use your phone, when you're around Wi-Fi, you're going to have to get some sort of phone service. Some people do an eSIM. I just get the phone service for however long I'm going to be there, because you can get it for a week, 2 weeks, a month. If you're doing a month AIS in Thailand, I recommend. That's about $30 a month. Excellent internet, excellent service there. So solid as a rock. In Vietnam, I go through Vinaphone. That's where I recommend. Don't go through anybody else. Go through Vinaphone, and then the longer term you get, the better. If you plan on staying in Vietnam for 6 months or more, I'll just tell you this: I book it for 1 year. It costs me about $7 a month to go. If I book it for a year, so $75, $80 will get you for 1 year. So if you plan on staying, any time longer than just a few months, just get that for a year and keep that phone number. Right, you get the same phone number year round. The last thing you got to think of is where your airport is in your city, and how to get to and from your airport to wherever it is your destination is, whether that's a hotel or a homestay or whatever. And in this instance, it's going to be about 15 bucks in both places. You just generally will take a Grab or a taxi from the airport. So not too much to add there, but I do like to throw it in. And so we're going to go into, there's some other hidden costs that you might incur in a city like Chiang Mai that you wouldn't include in a city like Dalat. One of them will be your ride share, right? So I'll go into ride sharing in another video, but you can spend more money in Chiang Mai on rides simply because Chiang Mai is not as walkable from a weather perspective. So if you're like me, you want to find a neighborhood that you can walk. And Chiang Mai is level, but if you're not going in the morning, or if you're not going at night, you're going when it's hot. So you're going to keep those walks 10 to 15 minutes, and other than that, you're going to be taking some Grab rides. Also, Chiang Mai has more, I would say, points of interest that are something that maybe you've seen in a video and you want to go check out. Right? Dalat is just everywhere is kind of beautiful. Chiang Mai has these epic temples, right, and structures and locations. So it's just more touristy. So you have points of interest that you want to go to. It's going to cost you a little bit more money. So anyway, I average out about $3 per day more on rideshare in Chiang Mai than I get in Dalat. So that's how it works for me. In Chiang Mai, again, because it's very hot, you may want to break that up with some more smoothies, frozen drinks, cold drinks, beer at night. These type of things add up too, where you can't just go and chill, with a cup of coffee for, 5 or 6 hours necessarily, as much as I can here in Dalat, and enjoy it. And also, if you are a cannabis smoker, cannabis is legal in Thailand at the moment and is not in Dalat, Vietnam. So if that's something that you want to partake of, they've got little cafes and places that you can, that you can go and chill for a little while during the day and get out of the heat in Chiang Mai. And again, anytime you get out of the heat in Chiang Mai, unless you're walking around in a mall, it's going to cost you money to go in there. So I just average about $3 a day on that as well. And also, Chiang Mai has more options for higher end Western style food, things like barbecue and Mexican, things that maybe you're hankering for and you want to keep in your diet, even though you're enjoying all the food that's local. Sometimes you just want a pizza or you just want a burger or something like that. So Chiang Mai, they're in both cities, by the way. You can get really good food on all counts, but Chiang Mai, especially Mexican food, Chiang Mai is going to be a place that you'll want to eat there if you're craving that, as opposed to in Dalat, Vietnam. So those places are always more expensive. So there's some hidden costs that make Thailand a little bit more expensive. For me, makes it about $250, $300 more per month to live in Chiang Mai, Thailand than to live in Dalat, Vietnam. So, and I'll throw all these numbers up again at the end of the video, but your total budget for a trip like this is likely going to be around $900. Wow, $900. Yeah, so this is if you're staying for a month in Thailand and you live 3 months in Vietnam. So you take that $900 and you divide it by your 4 months to get how much money you're going to have to spend every month, which I think comes to around $225 per month to be able to make this type of trip. I will say this, Dalat to Chiang Mai is one of the more expensive trips that you can take between two cities. You just get the benefit of living in Dalat and Chiang Mai, which are going to be better for you on weather, and you can pick which times you want to be in each place. But if you ever want to wake up every day and just be comfortable no matter what time of year, Dalat, Vietnam is a diamond in the rough for that. For me, because I don't have to pay for the rent, it's only $600 a month. So you're looking at under $200 a month if I'm going to stay in Chiang Mai for 1 month and live in Dalat the rest of the time. So that's how I do it usually when I go to Chiang Mai. Next, let's talk about my next trip. I discovered this in January when I did a trip to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, which I did always want to go to, but the reason I chose it is because Dalat has a direct flight there, and the direct flight is hovering around $100 round trip. So I decided to go there, and then I found out that it was only another $40 or $50 round trip to go from there to Phuket, where I went, and that was a lot of fun. Phuket, Patong Beach, but it's not really my style. This next time I'm going to Kuala Lumpur and then I'm going to stay in Kuala Lumpur for 3 nights, and then I'm going to go to Krabi and stay in Ao Nang for 7 nights, and then come back to Kuala Lumpur, stay overnight, and then fly back. Okay, so this is what you'll see here. My round trip ticket from Dalat to Kuala Lumpur, $132.74. This is all carry-on. It gives me 14 kilograms of carry-on luggage. By default, they only give you 7, so I could get there cheaper, but I'd have to do with too little luggage. 7 kilograms is barely enough for my computer and camera. And then to get from Kuala Lumpur to Krabi, round trip, you see there, it's about $90 more. So really, for a grand total of about $220, I've got the flight. So that's much cheaper than the flight, you remember, from Chiang Mai to Dalat and vice versa. So right away, I gain a little bit of money there. Okay, so what are my other bills? Well, $20 airport transfer, that's to and from. They've got a nice KLIA Express is a train that goes from the airport to pretty much anywhere in the city, main artery. And then because you're going to probably do private transfer Krabi to Ao Nang, that's a kind of a little bit longer trip, and it's going to cost around $30 round trip. So that's a $50 added expense on top of the flight. And then you got to stay somewhere, right? So I'm staying in Kuala Lumpur. I'm staying 3 nights at Swingin' Pillows. I haven't stayed there yet. They have good reviews. Again, travel hacks coming in another video, right? But I'll be staying there for 3 nights. And then when I go to Ao Nang, I'm going to stay at the Ao Nang Goodwill Hotel for 7 nights. It is walking distance to the city, walking distance to the beach. So I'm right in the middle, and it's got everything I need right there. So once I'm there, I'll have to spend very little money on transportation. And then when I come back, I booked 1 night overnight at a hotel right near the airport in Kuala Lumpur. That allows me to get the cheapest flight. So it was worth doing it that way. So this is a 12-day trip from Vietnam. You do have to, when you leave, unless you're doing a land border run, you have to allow 3 to 5 days to process your e-visa. And so with this trip, I decided to do for 12 nights. And my total cost for that trip is $500. Okay. Now, or about $167 a month, because that certain trip I've got to do 4 times a year instead of 3 because I'm not staying gone as long, right? So again, logistics. So if I did that trip 4 times a year, I'm looking at around $2,000 a year or $170 a month to budget. Right here, if you like these cost breakdowns, my very next video is going to be on my cost of living in Dalat, and then my cost of living when I'm in Chiang Mai, and I'll also run over my dad's cost of living too, since that's a little different. So if you like this rundown, make sure you're hitting the notification bell so you can check out the next video as soon as it drops. So those are just 2 itineraries that get me from Dalat to other cities. Now, if you're not in Dalat, let me just say you're going to take off. There's a tax, all right? I call it the Dalat and to Chiang Mai tax. So there's a tax to go to these kind of more regional and less international locations that require an extra flight, and that's going to put you around an extra $100 to $150 round trip. I remember when I got my dad in Bangkok and we took a flight together to Chiang Mai, one way with all of our luggage was about $100 a piece. I'm sorry, it was about $80 a piece to go one way with our luggage there. So tack that on, we went from Bangkok. And so, if you're going to stay in Bangkok or you're going to stay in Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi or these international airports where you don't have to fly to a major airport to get out of the country, your cost can be a lot less as far as travel goes. Just keep in mind in a big city, you also might be paying more per month. So a lot of it is going to be a wash. But let's just talk about cheaper options to get in and out. Let's just say it's utility and you just want to get there and get back. Well, number one, you can take that last trip that I told you about and just go to Kuala Lumpur, right? So that's $120 round trip. If you stay 5 nights in a decent place, you're going to spend around $100 to $150 for the 6 nights required, 5 or 6 nights required for your e-visa to process, and then you're back. So in total, a total trip there could be honestly as little as $200, $250. And the reason being, I don't count food in here because you can get cheap food at any of these cities and it's going to be negligible difference one to the other. So I don't count that as something that you have to really budget extra. That's the beauty, is that eating out is not very expensive compared to cooking it and making it yourself. Okay, so we've covered 2 main ways that I get out of Dalat into another country and then back into Vietnam. Vietnam, like I said, requires the e-visa generally when you leave by flight, and that can take 3 to 5 business days. So I always book my ticket for at least a week so that I can make sure that that gives enough time to process. Now, if Thailand is your home base, then things are very different because you can take same-day flights out of the country to and from. And Chiang Mai can travel to Hanoi, Vietnam, it can travel to Myanmar, it can travel to Malaysia, Singapore, Laos. So there are more options of a border run through the air, right? So when you come back into Thailand, you reset your 60-day visa exempt, and then you can, for another 1,900 baht, which is around $55, $60, you can get another extension for 30 more days. So you can right now stay up to 90 days in Thailand. Whenever I first went there last year, you could only do 60 days. So you got 30 days when you entered the country, and you could extend for another 30 days. So now they've got that bumped up, and Thailand can change things. They're kind of flexible, so they'll change things when they want to. But for right now, you can get up to 90 days in Thailand before you actually have to leave the country. Now, you can leave the country by plane every time and come back, all right? And so many of those tickets are going to cost you maybe $100 round trip to get to these cities that I just mentioned. So a very cheap way of getting in and out of the country when you need to in Thailand that way. Again, if you leave Vietnam by plane, you really have to do the e-visa in order to get back in, as quickly as possible that way. So a little bit of a difference there depending on which home you're trying to use as your home base and how long you're trying to leave when you do leave the country. Most people that live here indefinitely and only travel between 2 places, they'll have one place as their home base because they can get rent for so cheap. I'm in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath townhouse, modern, beautiful, furnished, in a nice quiet area here in Dalat, and it cost me about $240 per month. Okay, so as there's no need for air conditioning or heating, all I'm really heating is my water. Your utility bill is very low, always under, probably $40 per month. And next is going to be border run. So from Chiang Mai, I've done a border run to Laos. I was able to do that same day if I wanted to. And depending on how you do the border run, are you hiring a private car, or are you taking a van or a bus, you can do these border runs to Laos from Chiang Mai for as little as $100, $150 round trip, and that gets you everything. If you're in Bangkok, your best border run is going to be to Cambodia, although there have been some border disputes lately. I wouldn't do that right now until kind of the dust settles on that a little bit, but that's a good option as well. And then in the south of Thailand, you can easily skip across to Malaysia and do your border run that way. And again, border runs are usually same day if you want it. So you cross the border, you fill out the paperwork, you come back. I mean, it took me less than an hour to go across to Laos and come back. So there's any number of ways that you can accomplish this moving from country to country, and you may not choose the same 2 countries that I've chosen, but it works similarly throughout Southeast Asia. Every country does things just a little bit differently, and so your individual costs are going to vary depending on which countries you're going between and how long you want to stay. Those first 2 itineraries, obviously I can do those things cheaper than what I'm sharing with you, I guess is what I'm saying. So in Vietnam, because you can go 90 days at one time, you really don't have to leave the country for very long, just long enough to get that visa reset. And there are border runs to Laos and Cambodia from Vietnam. So you can do that as well. Your border run from Ho Chi Minh City to Cambodia is going to run you around $100 round trip. Not bad at all. To get from Dalat to Ho Chi Minh City, if you're going to fly there, another $100 round trip. To do that, maybe you'll need to stay 1 night in a hotel or 2 nights, and so that's another $40, $50. So you can do that trip flying and then taking the border run and do it in 3 days, 2 nights, and it'll cost you $200 or $250. You can also get there by bus to Ho Chi Minh City, and it would cost you maybe 20 bucks to get there. So you can cut that cost down quite a bit and do it a cheaper way if you want. And guys, I got to tell you right now, I'm having a lot of fun sharing this information with you. So I hope you're enjoying the content as well. Make sure you support me by liking, sharing, subscribing, all those things. Leave a comment for me. If it's a question I can answer in this series, I'll do it. Or I might just answer it right there in the comments. So all of those things help my channel grow. And like I said, I'm just starting this up in earnest. So I appreciate your support so much. All right, guys, as promised, we've got your entire itinerary arsenal set up here so that you can kind of compare the different ways that I can move around between the 2 countries. This is something that you can use as a blueprint. Again, there are a lot of shopping hacks when it comes to travel, so that will be in a future video. Make sure you don't miss it. But until then, I really appreciate you guys tuning in today, and we'll see you in the next video. All right, bye-bye.